Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. This week we are doing a nice light episode all about questions you guys have asked me about my piano playing. These are kind of a wide variety of questions that I've picked, but they're nice, casual, quick questions that we can get through so that this week's episode can just be casual, relaxing. I know I've been hitting some deeper topics, and I'm going to continue to do that, let's be honest. But I thought that we could use a little palate cleanse this week, so we're going simple. Thank you for sending in your questions. I really appreciate it. I am going to put up another story today on my Instagram. If you're listening on the day that this is posted, you can go over to my Instagram stories and ask me some more questions, and I might just pick your question for the podcast. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Sometimes, the work is so, you try to be true. You feel sometimes it's on the verge of a kind of craziness, but it isn't really craziness. It's really getting the truest part of yourself out, and it's very hard, I mean, it's not easy, let's say. And yet it can be very simple at the same time.
For those of you that don't know, maybe you're new around here, my name is Mary, and I've been playing the piano for, I think, 27 years, going on 28 now. And I went to school for music. I used to play professionally for weddings. I worked a lot as an accompanist and as a music teacher. So I've got a lot of experience in the music industry, whether through education, coaching, or professional capacity. Now, I am most known for my little TikTok lives and Twitch sometimes, but I've been playing piano live on TikTok for the last 2 years. I'm just now getting back to going live. I took a 2-month break and I'm getting back on live this week, guys. If you missed it, if you're listening to when this comes out, yesterday on Tuesday of this week, I went live for the first time in a while. I'm going live again on Friday. Again, if you're listening when this podcast comes out, I'll be live again on Friday, which I think is the 28th. Yep, the 28th at 11 a.m. EST if you want to catch me. So today we're answering questions all about my music preferences and such. Our first question is, do you like to play classical pieces? And my answer is yes, absolutely. I think I've been burnt out on them for a while, though, because I am classically trained. And so from a very young age, I was playing a lot of classical music and doing a lot of competitions each year, competitions and like adjudications. So whenever, shout out to all the kids that went to adjudications. We're a very specific breed of person. But an adjudication is basically where you get judged against yourself, right? So you're not being judged against other people, but you're just being judged on a scale of like bad to good, I guess. And you are required to memorize your pieces, and you go into a little room with a couple different judges, and they each give you a score and some notes, and you get trophies and stuff every few years once you get to a certain amount of points or something. I don't know exactly how it works. I did do the judging for one of those adjudications once with my old piano teacher, which was cool. But that aspect of my classical upbringing as a pianist did make me later on in life kind of want to veer away from classical stuff. I always had an obsession with like video game and anime music growing up, because I watched a lot of anime. All of the music that I listened to growing up was like J-pop and J-rock. If that gives you a a little window into me as a person. So I was playing a lot of anime and video game music for forever. And luckily I did have a piano teacher that would allow me to bring it to my lessons. But she also made sure that I was doing a lot of classical stuff so that I could get the technique down that I needed to have in order to do these different adjudications. And then, of course, later when I went to college, I studied a lot of classical music, although I did push my teacher and made her let me just play a lot of Debussy and not as much Bach because I'm not a Bach girly. But I did play a lot of Mozart, a lot of Beethoven, a lot of Chopin. Debussy is my number one favorite, though, out of quote unquote classical composers. He's an impressionist or like late romantic composer. But yes. So my answer, do you like to play classical pieces? Yes. Yes, when I'm in the mood for it. And lately I've kind of been in the mood for it. So I might try to polish some old classical pieces again. It would be good for my technique, I have to be honest. I'm a little rusty. All right, the next question is, what is your favorite piece of music from a film? And when I read this one, I was struggling a bit, but I thought about it for a minute before I sat down to record because I really wanted to have a good answer for this. And I think my most honest answer is the piece called The Sixth Station from Spirited Away. That's a piano piece. I wanted to pick a piano piece because I thought that was on brand, right? So if you haven't heard it, it's called The Sixth Station, and it plays towards the end of the movie, and it's just so haunting and beautiful. I love it so much, and it just makes me feel things. If you haven't heard it before, go look it up. I think it's on Spotify. You can probably find it on YouTube too. Just look up The Sixth Station. Sixth as in like the sixth, the number six, the sixth. Station as in train station. It is so good. And it's by Joe Hisaishi. He's one of my favorite composers, definitely one of my favorite modern composers. He is just so good at writing emotions into music. It's just beautiful. And for all the music nerds out there, I like his music in Spirited Away a lot because it's a lot of quartal and quintal harmonies instead of like triad based chords. And for people that don't understand what I just said, it's just these big chords that are based on intervals, distances of notes that are larger than what we typically hear in westernized music. And it's just beautiful and open and kind of jazzy. It's just beautiful. Love it. All right. Next question is, any advice for people with limited, let me say that again. Any advice for people with limited free time wanting to learn piano? And I get this question so often. And my advice is, there's a couple practical things that I have to ask you before I can answer that question. So it really depends on what you're looking to get out of learning the piano. Like, what are your goals with it? Because if you want to be able to play classical pieces, I'm going to suggest that you need to find a teacher. If you want to just learn how to play chords, I think that you can totally find awesome YouTube teachers that have a lot of free content. And when I say get a teacher, like if you wanted to learn classical stuff, get a teacher. What I mean by that is like find a person in person that you can go to that can help you to learn the piano, because you're going to need someone that can adjust your physical technique so that you make sure that you're learning and practicing in the right positions, because technique is very key. And it is key for any person wanting to learn piano, but especially if you're wanting to get into classical stuff, like you really need to have a good teacher that knows what they're doing with classical pieces. So if you're just wanting to learn chords, totally look on YouTube. There's a lot of really great content. And honestly, just use the algorithm. We're living in an age where algorithms are incredibly smart. So if you look up like how to play simple chords on piano tutorial or something like that, there's tons of really great teachers, and you can just surf around and find someone that you really jive with and start to just consume their library of content. And as far as like practicing, when you're a beginner, you're going to want to start small anyway. So you said you have limited free time, right? Well, that's fine. Depending on your age, it's going to be a little easier If you're in a formative age, right, they do, start kids young for a reason. But just because you might be older, like even if you're like in your 60s or 70s, you can totally learn an instrument. You just have to give yourself regimented time to practice. So you do have to make sure that you're doing it consistently. Even if it's only 10 minutes a day at first, having some kind of regular practice to start cementing it in your brain is going to be really key. And cementing it in your brain and cementing it in your fingers, right? You're going to need to gain strength. At first, you're not going to have a lot of stamina. You won't be able to play for very long. But the more you practice, the easier that gets. So it's important to set aside a little bit of time every day to try to utilize your practice time wisely. So you're going to want to do things that help to perfect your technique. So things like scales and chords and arpeggios. It's like eating your vegetables, but for practicing an instrument. Those things are really going to give you a good foundation. So I would recommend learning some scales first, even if you want to start with a C pentatonic scale. That's just a 5-note scale. Or just a C major scale. Learning scale patterns is going to be really super helpful. So I would start there and see where you go. You can totally try to teach yourself, but I would recommend trying to find like an educator of some sort to lead you along. I wouldn't just buy a book and try to go through it on your own. I would definitely look for some kind of video to use to help yourself. So I hope that answers your question. I think it does. People ask me this all the time. But yeah, don't be discouraged if you're older and like, if you're one of those people that always wanted to start an instrument, it's never too late. Just go for it. Be patient with yourself. It's going to take time. It's going to take time to see progress. It really does. And you have to be patient and you have to be, your number one fan. Okay. So don't lose hope and keep practicing. Just do your 10 minutes a day, work your way up to 30 minutes a day when you feel comfortable doing that. If you're feeling strained, don't push that. Okay. So start slow. All right. I could ramble about that forever, but I'm going to make myself move on. The next question is, who would you love to do a piano duet with? And you know what? I had an answer to this. And then whenever I just asked that out loud, I thought of a different answer. There's a lot of answers to this question, I think. My first answer to the question is a person that I know in real life who is my jazz improv teacher from college. And I won't say his name because of privacy reasons, but I love him. I love that guy so much. I think he's the best pianist I've ever known personally. I've met a lot of really good pianists in my life, though, so that's hard to say, but he's so fantastic and talented, not just at jazz, but at classical stuff. And he was born with, like the pianist's dream of like really super long fingers. So I'm a little jealous of him for that, but we had a year while I was in college, the two of us just jammed all the time. Like we would just find extra time. He would come in on his off time and we would just have extra time together where we would just play random classical duets, but also some jazzy stuff too. He accompanied me whenever I learned Rhapsody in Blue, which is a very jazzy piece written by Gershwin. And we did a lot of Debussy. We did some Ravel together. Ravel has some really beautiful piano duets. We did some four-hand stuff, which means that you're two people on one piano, and some where we had to be at two separate pianos too. But it was so fun to play with someone that was so talented. And he really pushed me to go to my limits too. And we always joked about making a band. Oh, I miss that guy. So I would totally choose him. But otherwise, like some of my favorite composers are pianists, so it would be cool to play with them. But honestly, I'm like too self-conscious to do that. Some of my favorites that I would probably play with that I would like to play with that are composers would be like Yiruma. I love Yiruma. Yiruma is a Korean composer and has a lot of really beautiful contemporary piano pieces. Oh, Sarah Bareilles would be really cool. I love her so much. I just wish I could be her. I love her music so much, and I love that she just so guys, it's hard to play piano and sing at the same time. At least it is for me. I had to really practice in order to be able to do that. So I'm just unendingly impressed by her. Ben Folds would be fun too. Like I just have all these piano people that I like to listen to that I would totally play with any of them. I mean, as if I would get the chance, but it'd be fun. All right, next question. Let's see. Would you ever do commission work? Like if I wanted a specific song played on the piano? And I get questions like this from time to time. And like, I don't really know how to answer it because I have had periods of time where I've been open for requests on my live streams, and I don't always mind it. Sometimes I get requested to play songs that are just like not in the vibe that I'm looking to add to my repertoire. And that sounds so like I really hate to I hate to sound uppity when I say that. I hope that I don't. But here's the thing, guys. I said I wouldn't get dark with this episode, but here's a little bit of the backstory as to why I'm like hesitant to open myself up for commissions or requests sometimes. It's because I've had a lot of wrist problems, not just the one that caused me to get a surgery, but I had, other issues when I was like 20, 21 that I've been dealing with for a really long time. So I have to be careful about what I play. And so sometimes whenever I get requests, the music, you guys have so much faith in me. Like you will request the hardest shit that I've ever seen, or just like stuff that's really big, like the instrumentation of it, the orchestration of it is really large, meaning that there's like a lot of octaves, a lot of really big chords. And I'm just not built for that anymore. There was a time in my life where I was playing a lot of that a lot of the time. And I am not playing a lot of that anymore because I am doing my best to avoid injury. So it's a bit of a like soft spot for me whenever people ask if I can do gigs or if I can do some kind of commission or even private show. I had a person shout out to you if you're listening to the episode. I had a person ask me if I would do a private show for them, and I'm just so flattered by these requests, guys. I really do appreciate you guys wanting to patronize me as a musician. It's like it means a lot. But I am in this phase where I have to be pretty careful about what I choose to play. So I feel a bit inadequate in my capabilities right now to confidently stay open for those kinds of opportunities. Does that make sense? So I definitely don't have as much pain as I used to have in my wrists, but like right now it's wintertime. And unfortunately my joints are they're done for at this time of year. I have horrible circulation. So playing the piano this time of year even is a little difficult. So I actually have been on a bit of a break from playing in general. So yeah, I have to be careful with what I'm playing these days. So I'm not open for these kinds of commission requests or anything. But maybe someday I will be. Maybe I'll be healed enough someday that I feel confident in my abilities and my limitations in order to do something like that. But for now, I'm going to say no. I'm not open for anything like that. But I am staying open to opening myself up for that in the future. And I did enjoy doing the request streams when I did them. It was just a little frustrating sometimes getting stuff that I was not able to do. And like trying not to get upset about it. So in order to hold myself softly through those kinds of situations, I am not open for that stuff as of now. And I'm going to pull myself away from that question before I get too existential about it. The next one is, are there any other instruments that you play aside from the piano? Yes, there are. I played the violin for a very long time, since 5th grade up through college and a little bit after college. I will be honest, I have not touched my violin in years. And I recently took it out and cleaned it off. All my strings were totally destroyed. My bows desperately need to be rehaired. If you don't know, violin bows are made from horsehair. And over time, they build up like the oils from your fingers that touch it, build up on these strings, and they get dirty, and you have to get them restrung. And my sound post is not in place, so I really gotta go take it into a store to get fixed up. I need to order new strings, but I would love to play again. That was like an urge that I had towards the beginning of this year. Was like, oh, I wonder what my violin looks like right now. So I got it out of my closet and took a look at it, and yeah, it's a little worse for wear. But maybe someday soon, you guys will see me play the violin again. I have not played since I had my wrist issues this last time around, so I actually don't know how well I would be able to play at all because I have not tested it for myself. So that's a gamble. I have no idea if I'll be able to play the violin comfortably at all anymore. So that'll be something that I will be testing for myself this year. I used to play the viola as well. I'm kind of taking that off the table for myself now though, because viola was a bit of a stretch for me size wise. My hands are small. So a little bit of a stretch for me. So probably not going to play that again, but I did used to play cello as well. And I can find my way around a string bass kind of, not anymore, but I used to teach orchestra. So I did play all those instruments pretty comfortably at a certain point. Violin definitely was my main out of those classical string instruments. I play the ukulele. I play it mostly because I used to teach at a little summer camp, and it was during like the big boom of ukulele time when everybody started teaching ukulele in public schools. And so yeah, I have a ukulele. And that's it. Those are the instruments that I play outside of piano. Piano is definitely like my first and best instrument, but yeah, I can have some fun on some other stuff too. I did have to learn how to play all the band instruments in college, but I wouldn't be able to do it now. Oh, I forgot. I have an ocarina too. I can kind of play the ocarina too, but that's like not really seriously. I just like learned how to play some video game stuff on it. All right. Our last question for this episode, and I will bring some more music questions to another episode sometime. So go ahead and feel free to leave those on my story today if you feel so inclined. If you get inspired and want to leave me a music question, feel free. If you do have any questions on a day that I'm not asking for questions over on my Instagram stories, you can always ask it if you just check my little link tree, which is marymusexoxo.com. If you check that link tree and scroll down a little bit, there is a little Google form where you can submit your questions anytime. So I always just like to remind you guys of that. Our last question is, do you ever go out and partake in open piano play at places for people besides social media? And the answer is no. I'm so shy. When you say open piano play, I assume you mean like open mic nights, or something similar to that. And the answer is no. Your girl is actually really shy, like, which is so funny because I used to get paid to play piano and sing for gigs and like play violin too, actually. So I, I don't know. I can do it if I'm getting paid for it. Mostly because when I was getting paid for it, it was because I was like the background music for a given situation. I was not like the center stage performer kind of person. It was like, oh, she's playing piano at like for the background at a country club, like, like fine dining, fine music kind of stuff. So I liked that aspect of playing in person where I was like just in the background providing the ambiance. Not so much like a crowd of people all staring at me and watching me play. Although I had done a lot of that in my life through the various piano opportunities that I had over the years. We always had little concerts and stuff that I would play for. So I've got plenty of experience playing in front of people. But actually, the most people I've ever played for in front of have been on my few live streams that went crazy back in the day when I used to have 1,000 to 2,000 people watching me. And then that one time when I had 5,000 people watching me play piano on TikTok, that was crazy. But that is much different than like playing in a room full of people in person. And I have definitely dealt with my fair share of like performance anxiety in the past. I don't think I could handle a big crowd of people, definitely not 5,000 people, but maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm underestimating myself. I don't know, but I'm very comfortable playing online as of now. That feels good for me. It feels so nice to just be in my room, but know that I'm also in your living room too. And I'm providing that nice ambiance for you in your living room instead of the ambiance in a country club. So I don't have to dress up nearly as nice, but it was, I don't know, it's a nice shift for me to go from gigging and lugging around equipment to, I guess at an open mic situation, I wouldn't have to lug around so much equipment. But yeah, I don't miss that. I don't miss those days. Someday, I might go back to gigging. I'm not ruling it out for, the remainder of my life. But for now, I'm very comfortable just being an online performer. Again, someday, if I need to make ends meet and the online gigs are not making bacon anymore, then I will be back to gigging, I'm sure. So we'll see. I don't even have a way to transport my current keyboard. I'd have to use my old one. Anyway, not me thinking of the logistics. But yeah, no, I don't play open mics or anything like that. I have gotten asked by people to like come and play for events for them, but sorry, I'm not available for those kinds of things. But again, it is very flattering. It is very flattering for you guys to want to employ me for that. So thank you. Shout out to all the people that want to commission me for various things. I do appreciate you guys. It means a lot. Thank you so much for all these questions. It was fun to talk some music stuff. I was kind of worried about talking music because it's like a very special like part of my life. I didn't always have the musician side of me integrated to the performer side of me as Mary. It's only been the last 2 years of the 6 years that I've been performing as Mary that I incorporated music into things. So it's pretty new for me to talk about this to my audience. And it's very close to my heart. So I was super worried about talking about music. I was worried I'd get a little too deep with it. But hopefully this was refreshing to listen to. Hopefully if you wanted some advice about playing yourself, that was helpful. I'm interested to see more questions that come my way. So thank you for continuing to submit them. I really appreciate it. I hope you can catch me on one of my lives sometime soon. If you want more information about my live streams and when you can expect me to be on TikTok Live, you can join my Discord. You can follow me on any of my socials, and I will be updating everybody as the weeks progress on what my schedule is going to look like. It'll probably be a little weekly update with a new schedule each week. You can go ahead and visit my website to get to all those links. And I hope you guys enjoyed listening. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you guys in the next episode. You can visit xoxo.com to see all of Mary's links. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all your favorite listening platforms. And if you feel inclined, leave a 5-star review for us. Musings with Mary is listener sponsored, so if you'd like to support the podcast, please check out our Patreon. Shout out to all our current patrons. Thank you so much for the support. We'll see you in the next episode.